Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Outdoor Adventure Lab. My name is Jan Zarella, and for anyone who's new to the lab, this is where we have conversations with a wide range of adventurous individuals to educate, stoke, and inspire. In today's episode, I talk with Liz Craig, Mallory Tyler, and Jan Zarella about their run around the Timberline Trail. We'll talk about the Timberline Trail, gear and advice, as well as how to take dogs on an epic adventure like this. So with that, on to the show. And Jan, how's it feel being a week out from the trail, ladies?
Actually, very recovered.
Yeah, the body's feeling good.
Yeah, same here. Pretty much recovered 2 days later. It was, human body is an amazing thing.
I
No
would.
doubt. How about the dogs?
My dogs were tired for a day and I gave them one more day of rest and we went for a run 3 days later.
Same here.
So,
Same with Cooper.
I think we were all pretty shocked at how okay we felt afterwards. I mean, like very minimal soreness, if any. My feet were sore. My shoes, were too small and about 100 miles too old, but what can you do?
Yeah, well, it looks like you've got some new ones since then.
Got some new ones.
And of course, feet sore and body sore after 40 plus miles. And it took you guys, 18 hours is what you said?
Yeah, just about 18 hours.
Yeah.
Under
that's a long
18
day.
hours.
just a hair on.
Under.
Yeah.
Well, then let's talk about the trek. How did you guys come up with deciding to do this in a single day push?
So last year, the Adventure Mates tried to put on a round the mountain event. Big group of us planned it for the last weekend in September and it snowed. And so we kind of bailed on it and changed our plans for that weekend. And then as this year rolled around, it was still on my adventure list. And so I sent out kind of like a call out to the Adventure Mates and then anyone else that I knew that ran into Jan at the shop and was like, hey, you want to run around Mount Hood? She was like, yeah, that sounds great. So she picked a date. Mal chimed in that she was interested. And at this point, 3 girls had set an FKT of 14 hours and 20 minutes. And we're like, we could do that without dogs. Good, cool day. We got it. And then another girl broke it, and then another girl broke it, and it was at 10 hours. And so we decided we couldn't break that. So we decided to bring the dogs along and just go for it.
So in what time frame did all that happen?
Less than 2 weeks for sure. And my part of this was that I had wanted to run around the Three Sisters a couple of weeks prior to Liz and I deciding this was going to happen, and there was still too much snow. So in order to keep up the insane amount of training to be able to continue doing that later on, in a month, it's sure, Timberline, why not? It'll keep us trained.
Perfect. It definitely will. 10,000 feet and roughly 44 miles. That'll do it for you.
Yeah.
So how was bringing the dogs on that adventure? How'd they fare for that long a time?
Pretty well. There was definitely a gnarl ridge, middle of the day. It was hot. It was exposed. That was probably the worst of it for them. They were kind of pooped and tired and I was like, I don't know about this, guys, but they did great. And we found snow at the top of Gnarl Ridge, and they kind of went crazy, which actually there's see if I can pull up some pictures from the dogs and the snow. Well, here's a good river crossing of the dogs.
Oh boy. Yeah, the dogs were champs.
Yeah.
I was super impressed.
Yeah, all of our dogs have been running all the long trail distances with us, so they were, just as prepared as us. And it was definitely my priority to keep them safe, especially on the river crossings. Crossing the Co, I went up to my hips in water because I wanted to make sure that they safely crossed. So we also kept them fed and watered and snack breaks and just made sure that, like, you know, for me especially, that their safety was definitely our priority. Like, humans were fine the whole time. Like, we can deal, whatever. Our snacks are all mobile, but these guys have to get snacks from us. So dogs had a lot of snack breaks.
Yeah, of course. Plus, they also don't have quite as much of a deductive reasoning. They're just going to follow you. So
Exactly.
good that you got in and made sure that they get across. How many creek crossings are there actually?
Oh.
1 million.
4 million.
Yeah. I think officially there's like 7 or 8 river crossings from what we counted. But then there's like a bunch of other just little like stream and creek crossings, which was great for like refilling water or getting the dogs their paws wet and like them rehydrated instead of having to like pull out a bowl and like fill up water for them like every time, like every couple miles.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
The only good part of that trail is just how accessible water is.
Yeah.
You know, not just for the dogs, but for the humans too.
Yeah.
I talked to a friend who ran it a few years ago, and he was like, get water at all the crossings. Like, you'll need it. It'll be great. There's plenty out there, which is perfect.
Yeah.
And it wasn't too hot. Like, it was really, I wouldn't have asked for better weather. Like, it was probably in the 60s.
And there was a breeze for
Definitely
some of the
a
hot
breeze.
parts, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like some good running weather. Talking about the water, how much water did you guys carry, or how much times did you have to filter water? That's a good thought.
I had, and I think Liz also had, a 1.5 liter bladder. And I started with that full, and then we all had the Be-Free filters. So that mine was a liter and Liz's was a liter, and I think Jan's was 16 ounces or so. And so we would fill up pretty much, I don't know, I think 4 times.
I would say like a full bladder fill like
Yeah.
4 times, but then like we
Really,
dip our flasks in the water and kind of just
yeah.
guzzle those as needed for a bit.
I went through somewhere between 4 and 5 liters of water. My bladder was 2 liters, and I had a little bit of that left. But my plan of attack is to, like, I fill the Be-Free, drink it, fill it again, and then carry that with me, and then just stash it in my running vest pocket when it's empty, and then refill it at the next place. So I tried to calculate, and it was somewhere probably closer to 5. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, seems about right for the amount of distance and elevation that you climb and the amount of time you're out there.
Yeah. And I believe we're restocked with those at the shop.
Yes,
So
we are.
if you're looking for a soft flask filter, the Be-Free Catadines are top notch.
They're sweet.
Yeah.
So where did you guys start from,
The dream.
and why did you choose to start there?
We started at McNeil Point, that trailhead, and we did that to get the Ramona Falls climbs out of the way, like the climbs from Ramona Falls up to Paradise. We wanted to get that out of the way early, get up past Timberline in the morning so it wasn't as hot, and then especially as we were going down like to the White River and up to Naughtle Ridge, like we wanted to make sure it was cool enough for the dogs too. And I liked our decision there. I thought it was a good place to start. Granted, you do have to hike a half mile to the start of the Timberline Trail from that trailhead, but I mean, that's fine. That's when you're doing 43 miles, that half mile is non-consequential.
Except at the end of the day.
Yeah, except when
Yeah,
it's
the
the
end.
half mile and it's dark.
And
Yeah.
it's downhill, pretty steep,
Yeah.
right?
And
Yeah.
Rudy and Rocky,
Yeah.
Yeah.
not.
I think we all
Bring a good
tripped on that
headlamp.
part.
So did you end up going clockwise or counterclockwise?
Counterclockwise.
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 Yeah.
Yep.
Which
There-
was not like Mal said, like we got all the climbing out of the way early, which was nice, but I could see like why people would choose to start from Timberline and go counterclockwise, because you'd get like the sun and sand of White River done like first thing, and Narrow Ridge would be in the morning. And then the northwest side would all be like midday sun, which like we hit that like right at golden hour. It was like we couldn't have asked for like better timing on that. But then your like climb at the end of the day would be covered in trees.
And monstrous.
And what?
Monstrous compared to
Yeah.
like,
Oh yeah, that'd be a big way to end the day.
climbing out of everything forever.
Yeah.
Just punishment.
Yeah.
So if you did it again, would you start from the same spot?
I might. I don't know.
Would you
I
do it
feel
again?
like- Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
Definitely.
All of us would definitely run it again. We're still on the fence about backpacking it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. No thanks. Count me out for backpacking.
Is there any other spots that you saw besides Timberline that would be a good spot to start from?
You could start
I
from
would-
Cloud Cap.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that way you get two of the biggest river crossings out of the way earlier in the day, which the crossings are kind of recommended to do between or before 5 p.m. And because from 5 to 12, there's more water running through those rivers due to the glacial melt. So we were crossing in the prime time of the high tide.
Crossing when they say don't.
Yeah.
It's the waist deep water.
Scary. Yeah, the water was rushing high. There weren't great logs in all of them. The gave us the most trouble with the dogs because there was not a great spot. There were a lot of rocks, but not great ones that dogs could easily jump across.
I just went across and figured Cooper would figure it out, and he like parkoured off some logs onto rocks and miraculously made it. Jan was a better dog mom.
Well, we did Liz tried to carry Cleo across, and Cleo was not having that. So I took them downstream and found a place where I could stick myself between them and a log that was wedged between some rocks that was totally safe. So I just made them cross on the inside of me, so they weren't going to go over because I was blocking their way. So
Yeah. Now, if
And
you
then
did it
downstream
again,
of that, there was like a super water slide that we discovered when we found the trail on the other side. It was
and a waterfall and things.
Yeah.
Perfect.
that would have been great.
No.
so if you did it again, would you go dogs or no dogs?
I'd bring Cooper again.
Yeah, I'd still go dogs. I mean, personally, I'm never going to achieve that 10.5-hour record. So, plus, I mean, they love it. Like, I felt like, my younger dog and Cooper were playing sometimes a little too much. We tried to get them to conserve their energy, but it kind of also helped our morale to have the dogs along. And it was fun, just fun for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, dogs are so enjoyable to be around.
Definitely.
So was there a lot of power hiking versus running, or power hiking?
Up the hills, yes.
Certainly, yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, there's enough elevation that no matter who you are, I mean, maybe if you're a professional runner, you're running the whole time, which is horrifying. But we certainly hiked a lot.
Yeah, we'll leave running up that to like Keely and Jordan Anderson.
Yeah.
For sure. Yep. Ladia.
So Jan, you
like 7
mentioned
hours.
you mentioned training for the Three Sisters loop. Did you guys train for this specifically, or is it just you guys just run long distances and that's kind of how you train for it?
Well, I've gone around Three Finger Jack twice this season, did a 32-mile pyramids loop recently, like 3 weeks before this, like just getting in these big, long mountain runs to just keep things going and have to keep this up for at least the next month in order to achieve my goal of Sisters. But honestly, Sisters is going to be easier than Hood because there's only like 7,500 feet of elevation gain, 2 major hills, and the rest is rolling. So
it's slightly shorter, right?
No,
like
it's
30.
5 miles longer.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah, it's about 48 to 50, depending on where you start. And I have that all planned out with, like, some people want to do half, and then there's going to be dog swappers and stuff. So again, the dog safety is taken care of. They're going to join me for that too. But if they need a bailout at 25 miles, they have a bailout option. So, but I think all of us run, I mean, I run pretty much 5 days a week, as do my dogs. So
Liz is like,
Cooper runs at the dog park a couple days a week.
yeah.
No, Go ahead.
I was training for an ultra that was supposed to be in April, and then it was pushed to September. So I was doing a little bit of training for that. And then once I knew that was canceled, I just kind of kept running a little bit and hiking a lot, getting into biking, but trying to just get in elevation where I could so that, you know, I could be ready to do something like this really at any time. It's kind of my strategy.
Yeah, I mean, the more you do it, the easier it'll get and the farther you can go.
Yeah, because I think on Timberline, like the elevation is probably the biggest part for a lot of people, the elevation gain versus the actual running. So
Yeah, or even just the altitude from being at Portland.
yeah,
You only run to Portland and then you go and you have to run at 8,000 feet.
for sure.
Yeah. I would say that was my training, was like, I rolled my ankle at the end of June, so I haven't really been running, but I have been like doing pretty big hikes, like up around Mount Hood, or like hike runs, like going up Mount Adams and like Mount Hood and stuff like that too. Just doing some vertical training, but not as much distance training.
Yep.
Yeah. So what was the most challenging part of the Timberline Trail?
For me, I think just the amount of time we were out there, just, you know, having to factor in like eating, drinking water, making sure you have enough, making sure you're eating enough throughout, because I'm pretty bad at eating and drinking water while I do things like this. So I really had to force myself, but just like the concept of knowing how long we were going to be out there, I think is mentally like the hardest part of that.
Yeah. I think the last like couple miles were the hardest part for me, when it was like, we knew we were so close and like it was all downhill, but it was like really rooty and like rocky before we got to like the cutoff to go back to the trailhead. Like we couldn't really pick up the pace, and then we started hearing like rustling and footsteps, which like originally we're like, maybe it's a mountain lion, but like I don't think we would have heard a mountain lion. So maybe it was Sasquatch, hard to say. Like the dogs definitely got like more alert, but like we like grabbed all our leashes and we're like, okay, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say really just that last like 2.5, 3 miles, because it was dark and the trail was not flat, like as Liz said, rooty and rocky, and we couldn't actually like open up and run. Like if it was still light and we could have seen very well, you know, even with our headlamps, there's still a lot of shadows and stuff. Like we could have gotten that over in probably half the time as it took us to get out of there. But it was just like, plus we had to carry the leashes the whole time. So
yeah,
that was a little more challenging.
And we just had like little short leashes for like the quick draw leash from Roughwear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So. And my big dog likes to run on my heels, so it's hard for me to run my full stride anyway. So
That's what I heard.
It's like a miracle that Jan didn't get tripped by Alex.
Yeah,
like,
it's true.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yep.
I agree with both of those things, though. It is hard to eat when you're out doing stuff, and I swear the last legs, regardless if it's 10 miles or 30 miles, those last few miles are always hard because you know you're there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The trail seems to get exponentially longer the less of it you have to do at the end.
Yeah.
Right.
Like the first, what was it, like 9.5 miles? Like we looked at our watches and we're like going up from Zigzag Canyon kind of towards like Timberline, and we're like, whoa, we're already 9 miles in. Like it just like melted away. And then like we'd be at 16 miles and then like 20 miles. And then like the second half of the day just like ticked on, was like, oh, we've really only gone like 2 miles since then.
Yeah.
It was good. It was fun. And like, yeah, we made it to the end, which was not surprising, but
Yeah.
It was
yeah.
good you made it to the end, because if you didn't make it to the end, you wouldn't have ended up back at your car for sure.
Yeah.
We did have a backup plan. And
We did.
a collector
Yeah.
and cloud cap if necessary, but
Nice.
Mm,
That's
signed
always good.
forgot about
him
that.
off from cloud cap, so he didn't have
Yeah.
to go up. Which was
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I feel like we made that decision when we were at the high point. And at that point we were like, oh, like we feel great. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Loving life. And then like really that decision would have been more of a decision, I feel like, with like 8 or 10 miles left. Because at that point we still had like 15 or 16 miles.
yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Like, oh, we feel this is great. This is like totally in our wheelhouse. We're not into uncharted territory yet. But
So
Yeah.
that's, I mean, something to think about for people who want to do the Timberline Trail but aren't sure if, you know, they're going to be able to do it all or just kind of want to test it. You can absolutely grab a friend and stash a car somewhere. So you have that bailout option, which,
yeah.
and even
Yeah.
just to have the car there, like, was probably not a bad idea either. Just
Totally.
in general.
Yeah.
And you can
'Cause things can
self-support
go
too.
wrong.
Yeah, stash stuff, food, supplies.
Yep.
If you don't like didn't pack stuff with you, or yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and in a non-COVID world, you could get a
Yeah.
ride from someone too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Right.
people out there.
Yeah, I always carry like a credit card and $20 or something just in case something like that happens and I have to, you know, beg a stranger to get me somewhere.
Right.
Or just plan it so that like you start at Cloud Cap and like Timberline's your halfway point, and then you could just get a hotel room. Busy at Timberline.
Yeah, the deluxe bail option.
Well, I want to know more about the your Sasquatch experience or whatever it was.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
It was like 2 steps, like definitely at least 2 steps that Liz and I heard, and it was just like, vroom, vroom. And we both looked at each other and we're like, oh no, this is not happening. And I'm like, hello. And so we decided if it was a person, they would have answered unless they were a crazy person. So
Which also not a great situation.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
nothing.
Also, almost scarier.
Yeah. So a crazy person, a mountain lion, a bear, or a yeti. Like that's what it was. Who knows? But we grabbed a leash. I adopted Cleo, one of Jan's dogs, and we all nailed it. We were like, we're getting out of here.
So
I
you just heard
definitely
a
think
couple
our pace
steps.
increased.
Yeah.
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 Oh yeah, the adrenaline going a little bit.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then you
They'll
like
speed you
look
up.
out with your headlamp, and like of course every time you move your headlamp, shadows move
Yep.
because of your headlamp. But you're like, was that something moving? I
Yeah.
don't know.
And all
We
the
didn't see
spiders-
any
My
eyes.
imagination. What?
but all
We
the
didn't see
spiders,
any eyes, which was good.
all the spiders with their shiny reflective little eyes.
Oh God. Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
like
not to mention headlamps make everything else darker around you.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then like a minute later, a bird flew straight into me. Or a bird or a bat, I'm not sure which.
Probably was a bat if it flew
It
into
came
you.
right out of a bush and just like hit me in the chest.
Yeah, I was behind. I just heard this scream, like what? A scream, like what? And she was only like 30 feet in front of me, and
Yeah. So
Um,
easily spooked, I can say guilty.
Oh, if I get hit by a bat, I'll be screaming like a girl.
So, I had never actually been hit by a bat or a bird before. But because running in Forest Park, you hear about people getting swooped on by owls. And I actually saw one land right next to me once when I was on a bike ride, but never before had I actually been contacted by a creature.
oh my gosh.
Unsettling.
So did you guys use poles or no poles?
No poles.
I carried poles 43 miles around the mountain with me, but I never actually felt I needed them. Like, I could have probably used them for the last 3 miles, but then balancing dog and poles and everything, I was just like,
Yeah.
eh.
Or to fend off whatever was
Yeah, it could have been
following you
good
guys.
enough Sasquatch.
It's
Yeah,
That
nice.
brings me.
We didn't
Oh.
carry anything to really fend off anything that might come our way. Like we didn't have any bear spray or like mace or anything.
Or any other predators that are out there.
Yeah,
Yeah. There's a lot of
Nothing.
rocks.
we had sugar and
A lot of sugar.
Gummy bears.
Jelly
Gummy bears are
beans.
great.
Liz had a lot
Oh, gushers, fruit roll-ups. Yeah.
Nice.
I dug deep
So
into
that
the,
kind
like,
of brings me to was there any gear that you brought that you wish you left behind?
No, I'd still bring the poles even though I didn't use them.
yeah.
Just in case.
Yeah.
let's see.
I think I had a puffy, which, like, again, I'd bring it with me next time, but, like, didn't use it.
Yeah, I guess I used my little layer jacket
Mhm.
like for the hike up to the trailhead actually because it was cold when we started and I'm a cold
Yeah.
girl. But after that I definitely didn't need it. But I still would have brought it.
Mhm.
I don't know. It's nice to have something, especially if you're gonna be spending the night out there. If something bad were to happen. I brought a little emergency bivvy as well, just in case. A little lightweight medical kit. Just,
Mhm.
you know, you want to be prepared. Hope
Yeah.
that you never use it, but
Yeah.
if you
And
have,
I think too, like, it's kind of like someone brought this up at the shop the other day. Would you rather like bring something and not need it or have to turn around because you didn't have it?
Mm-hmm.
And like,
Yeah.
that's when you're, I don't know, however many miles in, and it's like, shoot, I have blisters and I don't have any way to take care of them. Like, I have to call it or suffer. Like,
right.
Yeah.
definitely
No
don't want to be there. So
Which Jan
preventable.
did get some blisters. but
Yeah.
we
But
were
they were
able to.
fine. They were basically waterlogged calluses, and they were gone by the morning. So
Oh man.
crazy.
From going in the creek for the dogs.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I stopped and bandaged up. So I had a first aid kit. I also had first aid for the dogs with like some stuff that stops bleeding and Coband and gauze and some like paw wax for their paws just in case the sand or the heat got too much or any of those things.
Yeah.
I also brought a rope, which is just one of my like homemade dog leash, but it's about 8 feet long and it could have been used if we had to make a harness for one of the dogs to like escort them across, or if some of the creek crossings were so crazy that we had to like belay each other across, like we could
Yeah.
have that. So, but it stayed in my pack. So, and I used
But
my
then you-
light jacket on the way out.
Yeah. When it's dark, it starts to get cold up there.
Yeah.
And then you stopped to have the snacks for the dogs. What kind of food did you guys eat?
Sugar.
Sugar, gushers.
Yeah. Fruit
I
by the
had
foot.
tortillas.
Oh, I had tortillas too. Yeah.
With gushers inside?
mango,
Yeah.
a lot of like goos in the Stroop waffles.
Mm-hmm.
I had these banana chips, and then what else did I have?
I did wish that for my tortillas, I had packed like cheese or like salami or like something salty to roll in them. Because trying to eat like as like
I
fresh
did.
and moist as homemade tortillas are, they're still very dry.
I had a
Joke, yeah.
salami cheese wrap.
Yeah. I envied Jan's
Wow.
cheese wrap.
Yeah.
And lots of trail butter, lots of Cliff shot gels with 100 mgs of caffeine, and shot blocks with electrolytes and stuff. I also had an electrolyte mix package that I drank at some point in time on the trail. Dried fruit, gummy bears, sour Scandinavian swimmers from Trader Joe's.
Yes.
Those were clutch.
Everyone else's snacks always look like they would taste better than what I bring. So, pro tip, ask your friends what they're bringing because it's probably what you're going to want.
I just go to Trader Joe's. I grab the same things I always grab: the mango, the plantain chips, the little mochi rice, puffed rice things. Those were so good because they're so salty. Person, so gotta
No,
get.
I brought beef jerky. Cooper ate some beef jerky too, and Cleo probably did too. They got conned.
Oh man.
And then besides your having to get into the water to help the dogs cross, were there any other like major mishaps that happened along the way?
No,
It went so smooth.
nobody
I
even.
slept in the first river, and
Oh yeah.
but you know, whatever. Wool socks really work. They dried out just fine.
But no like route trips or supermanning or anything. It was kind of insane that like none of us ate it.
Yeah.
I was shocked because that's normally my MO. Like just
Yeah,
roots
take a dive real
on
quick.
the ground. I did get a bloody nose, but
Oh yeah, that
not a
happened.
contact injury at all. Just I get them when it's dry out, and we were inhaling dust the whole day. So yeah, it's bound to happen.
What was your favorite part?
This part.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The sunset was unreal.
Sunrise and sunset.
Yeah.
I really,
So pretty.
yeah, sunset was great. I enjoyed like running in the morning light before the sun fully came up because even early on, like we started at 4:55, but even by like 5:15, we could see. I think we had our headlamps off by 5:45, maybe. I don't remember, but pretty early. We're like, oh, it's kind of light. We can actually see. So, but it's just so peaceful because there were no other people early on.
Mm-hmm.
We just
Yeah.
passed all their tents.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, how was that change from starting and no people to like I'm assuming there was a lot of people at some points?
Timberline.
Yeah, Timberline and
During COVID.
yeah, we put our masks on, and like from Paradise over, like Paradise wasn't too bad, but like once we started to get closer to Timberline, there was definitely more people. I feel like that was the only place we really saw a lot of people. I guess kind of on the northeast side, like Gnarl Ridge, we saw a handful of couples and like people walking.
There were probably maybe 20 people, 25 total that were backpacking the trail that we encountered, like 2 or 3 here, 2 or 3 there. Timberline was a big rush of people. So, and also, you know, the dogs, aside from all of that, but like the stream crossings, feeding them everything, the dogs probably added a good 2 or 3 hours to our trek, because also all the people encounters, like we made sure like we pulled over off the trail and let the people by and all of that. So stopping every time we encountered a person.
And of course, like the mask like throws off the dogs too, and they're like, who are you? Like Cooper's used to it because he sees them at the shop all the time. Like he's like, oh, whatever.
Cleo
but like,
sure.
Yeah, Cleo was very skeptical of anyone wearing a mask, which was everyone.
Yeah. It was good to see that people were wearing masks.
Yeah.
Did you guys see anyone else who was running the loop too?
No.
I don't think so.
No, we did see a woman jogging when Jan was bandaging the blisters around Cloud Cap, but we think it was just a little night jog, because she didn't had a big pack or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What would you guys end up doing differently next time, if anything?
I'd probably start earlier.
Yeah, I think I would too.
Just for timing, so we wouldn't have to finish in the dark. Although the sunset really was probably my favorite part. It was absolutely beautiful, especially when we were on that side of the mountain. Like we saw just a beautiful view of Helen's, Rainier, and Adams all just lit up pink and orange and purple. So I would start earlier, but that was definitely a great treat at the end.
If we had started a couple hours earlier, also all the stream crossings. So we started at 4:55 a.m. But well, 4:55 from Timberline when we hit Timberline Trail. We started closer to like must have been about 4:30 or so before when we actually departed our cars. But if we started at like 2 a.m., then we would have all the big stream crossings done at an appropriate time. So that would have helped us a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And I think that side of the mountain too, like the trail is navigatable, that like you could do it in the dark, no problem. Mm-hmm. I think. I'm trying to think, like there's no place that I would have been like concerned about crossing.
No. Even the Muddy Fork was fine.
Like, Muddy Fork was fine, except for Mal, but those are old shoes.
Personal problem. No trip.
Yeah. And then the Sandy was fine too. But yeah.
Did you guys learn anything along the way?
I had never met Jan, so I learned a lot about Jan.
Yeah.
No better way to get to know someone than run 40 miles with them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think just knowing like what your body is capable of, because I think for all of us, that was the longest distance we had ever covered. Yeah. So just like you kept realizing once you passed your longest mark that, hey, we're still going, the body's still okay. It's going well. So I think that just like the mental aspect of we can do this was something that we all experienced.
Yeah. And for me, like at no point in time did I feel like I can't finish this. I'm not going to finish this. Like we're not like I felt like all of us, including our dogs, were 100% capable of finishing. And like at no point in time, like Liz said, we called off our potential backup miles earlier than we needed to, whatever, but we didn't need it. And the fact that our bodies are capable of that, like, you know, I've pushed mine a lot. I actually climbed Adams like 3 days before we did this trip. And so, you know, recovering from that, 2 days off and then onto this big thing was like, yeah, sure, whatever, it's fine. But actually like really not feeling it afterward is pretty amazing. Like the human body is amazing. And, you know.
Totally. Yeah. And I was backpacking on like a 4-day backpacking trip in the Wy'east the weekend prior, and I bonked really hard on Saturday. So we ran Tuesday, the previous Saturday. I bonked really hard because I didn't eat enough. And so I was kind of panicking on Saturday because I was like, oh my gosh, on Tuesday, I am going to have to run 43 miles and I don't know if I'm going to do that. So I just shoved food in my body for the next 2 days to prep. And I was really excited that, you know, things went a lot better that time, and like learned to force myself to eat. Like I vigilantly, basically on every hour, I was consuming like at least 100 calories. And so I think that was some personal growth for me because I am not good at that.
And I feel like it's probably good too that you learned that
prior,
the weekend before instead of on the run.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It like still surprises me that like none of us ran into any major issue. Like body, like you hear about there's always like one person who's bunking or like someone who's getting sick or like this has never happened before. And like, I don't feel like any of us had anything that was like, oh my gosh, this has never happened. Like,
no,
it was so normal.
Shocking.
The outside of my knee hurt a tiny bit for the last 2 miles, but it does that every once in a while after like 30 miles, like, and it didn't even start hurting till like 40 miles. So, you know, it was tired.
Yeah.
But like my feet, so the blisters, like I said, they were gone by the next day. They weren't that bad, but like my actual feet, like even my feet didn't get tired. Like the
Yeah.
trail is so amenable to, like, it's comfortable to travel on. It's not like, you know, it's not rock, it's not navigating like hard clay or anything. It's just like sand. Well, I'll say some of the deeper sand was a little harder to run in, but like quicksand.
Yeah.
but really the trail is just so like body friendly. So
Yeah. No, it is. It was really forgiving.
What kind
And
of
even
gear, like shoes or like packs, or like key items would you recommend for someone who's doing it?
yeah. Mal and I both had the Solomon S Lab ADV Skin 12-liter running vests. And then Jan would have had that one, but she was waiting for a different color. So she ended up with
stock.
yeah. Jan, what was your pack?
I had
Which
the
pack was it?
Arc'teryx Norvin 14, which
Okay.
is a little more abrasion resistant.
Yeah, definitely.
Can be cinched down pretty easily, like if it's not totally full. And so there were a few features on that pack, is ultimately why I chose that and didn't care about the color. But
Yeah,
And
there's
then-
just so many compartments in those vests. You know, you've got like 3 front compartments, the sides, the big pack. So I think as we went along, like we would try to strategically position snacks in certain spots in our vests.
Yeah.
Easily get that. We're like, okay, I'm doing a goo next, I'm doing a tortilla after that, so I'm gonna have them here.
I just dedicated a whole pocket to snacks,
Yeah.
and then I could
I did
just
trash
eat whatever I wanted.
I
I had a trash pocket too.
dog snack pocket, Jan snack pocket, trash pocket, like all the important, like maximized our the more snack pockets a pack has, the better.
I definitely at one point, like 30 some miles in, found the dog treats that I had like stashed in a pocket, thinking that they were like my beef jerky, and didn't eat them, but almost was like, oh, this is where I hid the dog treats. Good thing I realized they were dog treats.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the packs and the Be Free filter. Like the best filter that I've used. It's super easy.
Yeah.
Super light to carry. Folds up.
Does it fit in the front of your vest?
Yeah.
Yeah. Jan's is like the 0.6 liters, so that one's like more comparable to like the little 500 liter or milliliter little running.
Things.
Yeah. Ours are,
So-
me and Mal have the 1 liter, so it's a little bit bigger, but it's still like worked. Like you can fit it in there, you just don't fill it as much.
Yeah.
It'll fit better. Yeah.
And then we all had different trail running shoes. I
Yeah.
have Adidas trail runners, Adidas Terex BOA trail runners. The BOA system for me is really key because you just click the little thing and then you turn it and then your laces are tight and you don't have to worry about them slipping as much. I also, when I run in sneakers on a trail, tend to get like the laces caught in a branch or somehow and end up eating it. So I think those are safer. The BOA are safer for me.
And better for dumping sand.
Yeah.
Kept having to unlace and relace my shoes, which was a pain.
Yeah.
And gaiters, like little trail running gaiters. Those were super clutch. Yeah.
So Marshall also wants to know if any of you would be interested in doing an infinity loop. That's
I hate myself, so yes.
I mean, why? Maybe.
Yeah.
Tricky though, because you have to like time it when conditions are doable on the climbs, or like for your comfort level of the climbs. Like I wouldn't want to be down climbing the south side right now, or even like going up Cooper Spur right now. But like if you do it when conditions are still in, like this year, early July, like there was still snow on the trail. And so it's like a trade-off of finding that like perfect time when like the trail is mostly snow-free and the routes are still in. But Yeah, I would say if it came in, I would do it maybe next year. I don't think I would want to do it this year though. I don't think I'd be comfortable on either of those routes.
For sure,
Yeah.
super rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, given safe conditions,
Yeah.
I think it'd be it. And I think there's probably just a narrow window for that each year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would
definitely,
like to do a ski infinity loop of Mount Hood though, where you go up Cooper Spur, ski the south side,
Yes.
ski the west circumnav route, do that again, and then ski the east circumnav route. I think that would be super cool.
That would be
fun.
fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely need a partner for that one though, because you got to be roped up covering quite a few glaciers.
Yeah. But like that would be cool. I mean, if you're gonna ski circumnavigate, why not do some skiing too?
Yeah, you're already like halfway up there.
Exactly.
And the preferred method of downhill travel.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you did it again, Marshall wants to know if you would bring a rookie along.
What form of rookie? Like,
Yeah.
It depends.
As long as they were capable, sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, like someone who would be fit enough to do it, I would imagine.
Yeah.
yeah.
I would just say, like, I would want to know talk to someone they've like climbed with or run with before for a long distance, just to know what their attitude is like at mile, like later in the day when they're tired or things are like not going well. Like, how do they handle that?
If they get angry.
Yeah. Angry or grumpy or
or tend to break down, lose
I don't
it.
want to be around them. Like,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think understanding pace too, like being able to estimate how long you'd be out there too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, do you guys run at a similar pace to each other?
Those two are definitely faster than me.
I think we're kind of all
be faster if I didn't have an 80-pound Chesapeake Bay Retriever on my heels.
Yes. and Mal's definitely faster than me too. So like I would say I'm somewhere in between. And yeah, I don't think Mal gets tired. She's also younger, so.
Okay, a year.
You guys, I have a lot of years on the two.
So then it sounds like it was a good mix then though, so.
Yeah.
We definitely have
You're never gonna find someone that's exactly your pace, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you run with them 24/7.
Exactly.
And
I think
that's
too,
part of the fun.
yeah, and I think too, like if there wasn't, like Jan was a great pacer, and like if we had just taken off, like I know me personally, if I had just taken off at the speed out of the gate from Top Spur, I would have crashed so hard.
Yeah, just
at
go
Timberline,
out too hard.
Honestly. Yeah.
Same.
Just like having that was perfect. Was really great.
Yeah.
But finding 3 people overall who are like matched, like level and ability to do something like this intense and endurance is pretty like, I mean, yeah, we have, we've got our community here in Portland and whatnot and our friends, and I have other running friends who could do it, but people who actually have the confidence to do it is pretty rare. So.
And that like at no point was I like, oh, like shoot, like what if this person like can't make it? Like I never had any doubts about the group. Like everyone was totally self-sufficient. It wasn't like, okay, like how are your blisters? Like, are you eating? Like, did you get enough water? Or like, oh, I'm out of water. Like, shoot, like never an issue. Like,
there was no babies.
Took care of ourselves.
Yeah.
Right. I think there was a level of, we've all done long adventures before, so we kind of knew how we operate when we're tired and hungry. And I think being self-aware in those situations is pretty key too, because you have to be aware of, how you're going to respond to things and then be able to communicate and work in a group when shit hits the fan. Even though we didn't really think the shit hit the fan, but
And like Liz was talking about earlier, like you guys all definitely get along. So
Yeah.
if you go out, regardless if someone is at or above your fitness level, if you go out with someone that you do not click with, it could be a nightmare.
Yes.
And a lot of things could have gone wrong on this trip. Like I did a long run in the pyramids a few weeks ago, and at a very unassuming place, one of the girls slipped. We had just crossed a little creek. She slipped in a big patch of mud and impaled a tree into her knee. So then we had to stop at the creek and administer all sorts of first aid for like an hour and a half before we continued on our journey. And at that point, we still had 10 miles left to go. And like, you know, there were a lot of places where we were like, when Mal fell in the first creek, she could have like busted her knee open on a rock or something, you know?
Yeah.
And we had to be like, you know, patient and agreeable enough with each other to where if there was some disaster that like, I don't feel like if any of us had hurt ourselves that the others would have been mad, like if we had to turn around and everything.
Totally.
It's been like,
Yeah.
okay, let's take care of you and figure out how to move on or get out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So is this your celebration, this photo?
Yes.
We got-
The
Beer.
much deserved
Yeah.
burritos.
Yes.
So we anticipated finishing like a little bit earlier, a lot earlier, but it like whatever.
Who cares?
And so we had like a couple friends meeting us at the trailhead, and like one of my friends brought beers, but she left. So she left us the beers like on the van. And then we had got burritos because I didn't think about we would be hungry afterwards. And Mal was like, so should we eat food afterwards? And I was like, oh, great point.
Right.
Like real food. And so we like we gave them maybe 20 minutes in the oven in the van to try and heat up. But yeah, we ate mostly cold burritos. And
Were you glad those burritos? Were you glad you got those burritos in, Liz?
Yes.
So when I didn't know that Liz was bringing the van, and she texted like on our way out of town, and she's like, hey, you want a burrito for tomorrow? And I'm like, sure. Like in my mind, I'm like, oh, I'm sure you have it all sorted out, but you have a cooler, ice packs, like what's going on? And she shows up in the van. She's like, oh, it's got a fridge and an oven to reheat them. I was like, well.
Shout out to Noah for hooking us up with the van.
Yeah.
Right.
Also, while I'm looking at this picture, I'm remembering a very key piece of gear that we all had. We all had Garmin watches.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And I think like this was like a crucial thing for us. Just having some sort of like a map, a timekeeping device, navigation wise, you know, like these watches have a really good map and you can zoom in. And so there were multiple points where we were like, all right, we're just going to check the trail because we don't want to go end up down the wrong spur at, 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah. Or river crossings too. Sometimes like the trail didn't connect right across where you crossed.
Mm-hmm.
And so do we search upstream or downstream? And you could look super easily.
And monitoring our pace, understanding like, okay, should we be going a little faster or slower too? Monitoring like heart rate. For me, running the watches, that's why I use it most of the time, is just to make sure my heart rate's not too high on long endurance things.
Yeah, once you get into those like zone 4, like if you get above zone 3 and you're going that distance, you're going to build up a bunch of lactic acid, and that's when you really bump.
Oh yeah.
So the watch, and then I think all of us use Gaia GPS as an app on our phones to download maps and have on there. So those two.
And Jan tracked us on Strava.
Yeah, Strava gave us a lot of miles. Strava,
Yeah, I've noticed that Strava kind of
stick with our distance.
pads your recordings, and then Garmin tends to be very conservative.
Yeah.
My Garmin is very old. It doesn't have fancy maps on it, but it does have a track back function. But for me, definitely like the biggest use of my Garmin, other than like distance and time, whatever, is well, it's just the same. It's keeping my pace, because it does make me like, when I skied around Crater Lake in March, it was like, okay, we have to go 2 miles an hour or we are not going to make it, because we skied like 13 miles the first day and 23 the next. So it's like, if we're not going this pace, like if sometimes I start to zone out and go a little slower. And so like when we would slow down, like going up Gnarl Ridge, I would look at my watch and be like, okay, we got to, get back on pace, walk a little faster, like just to like keep me on track personally. So
Did any of you use Live Track too? So
We
someone could
tried.
know where you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But since you don't have cell phone service for a lot of the like east side, it was like useless. But it would be sweet if it did work.
Yeah. I had
gotta
to
have the
preface. I did have an InReach actually, and I brought that with me, but I didn't use it. I don't know. In an emergency, I surely would have, and that would have been good. But I don't know. It was something that, at 10 p.m. the night before, I was like, I don't want to have to mess with this. But yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
Well, I guess to wrap it up here, do you guys have any advice for anyone who's interested in doing this, or interested in training to be able to do this at one point?
Pace yourself, like start, work on your pace, build up your mileage, get out there and just see what you can do. Yeah.
I would say try to at least get in a 30-something mile run, hike, half and half before, so that, your body, you're out there for a long time. That's not just like flat miles, but making sure you're spending a large amount of time on your feet. So whether that's walking or skinning up Palmer or something like that, just the time and exposure that you're out there is one thing that I think you need to prep your body for. So getting that in. Make sure you have enough food and water.
Oh yeah.
Eating while doing these things. Something I need to work on still.
Always pack extra food, be prepared for when things can go wrong, have a backup plan, tell somebody your plan.
Yeah, that's huge.
But
tell someone your plan and then have like instructions for what to do if that plan has to, like if you have to activate your emergency plan, like don't just text someone. Like if you tell someone you're doing something and you're planning to have them be your emergency contact, make sure that they know that they are your emergency contact in your backup plan. Because if you go up to some of your friends, you're like, oh, I'm gonna run the Timberline Trail, and they're like, sweet, have fun. And then you call them and you're like, oh no, I need a bailout. And they're like, sweet, I'm at the coast. Like that doesn't work. So make sure your plan knows that they're part of the plan.
Critical.
I think that's good. That's definitely some good advice.
It's excellent.
And believe that you can do it. Because the whole time, we definitely believed that we could do it. And I think that's something that's definitely underrated, is just
mental strength,
the confidence.
Yeah, something like that is definitely just as much mental as it is physical.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Well, we're gonna close it out. Jan, Mal, Liz, thank you guys for joining this afternoon. Stoked to have you guys as part of the Outdoor Adventure Lab family. That's the end of this episode. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button below so you never miss an episode. We love hearing from our audience, so if you have feedback, would like to discuss these topics further, or if you or someone you know would be a good future guest, please let us know. Until next time, remember, adventure is better together.